Hey guys, how's it going? So, this one's gonna be a bit of a story, bit of a documentation, bit of a rant, bit of everything, and yeah, let's go get started. I'm designing a signature yo-yo, and this is how it's working. Knowing what you like in a yo-yo and being able to translate that into the design of the yo-yo are two different things. So there's a bit of error in translation here, but this is the concept. This is what I wanted. There are 3 yo-yos that this thing is inspired off. 4 if you add the revisions, but the initial concept is 3. Alright, I wanted something with the irony shape. This thing's so easy to catch, it's so comfortable in the hand. I love this shape, it's awesome, okay? So, the irony isn't the only yo-yo with this shape. It's got the gradient and the banshee that all kind of have similar shapes. And while I didn't particularly like the gradient, the banshee was pretty solid. And the irony, well, hey, I used that in basically every single competition I've ever won, ever. With this. The problem is that I wanted a better irony. Okay, the irony's 3 years old. It's kind of set back in the 2015 era, not as good as it could be, right? So the main thing I wanted to do was notch the weight down and make it more powerful, okay? Which is where we go to the second inspiration, this. This is the Berserker, another one of my absolute favorite yo-yos. This thing was so good that when it came out, I didn't even bother buying an Angle Arm. I tried an Angle Arm, I'm like, you know what, the Berserker's better. I want the Berserker. So the thing about the Berserker is that its inner ring here is basically, it gives it a very powerful weight distribution, but this weight distribution isn't actually overwhelming, meaning that it's a bimetal and it's powerful, but it's not too powerful. Now, the reason I add too powerful is because the third yo-yo that this thing is based off is the Draupnir. That thing is a 64 gram killer lean machine. Don't have it right now, in certain Wayne's place, but you guys know that I compare everything in terms of power to the Draupnir. It's too powerful, alright? It's great, but it's too powerful. And that's something you only learn after you use it for about, I don't know, 3 months. It's like, oh, this yo-yo is great, but it's so tiring to use. It just comes back, it's sharp, it's too powerful, right? So I wanted something with an inner ring, like a Berserker, but was as light as a Draupnir, about 64, 63 grams, that had the shape of an irony. So, where does that leave us? We tried to make one, and this is what we came up with. This is what we call the outlier. That's what we decided to do. Here, we wanted to combine the strengths of all these yo-yos and eliminate and eradicate all of their weaknesses. So, we tried. This is the first type, but it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. This is the prototype one. Alright. Here it is. Okay? It's shape. Here's the irony. It's a more refined irony with less cuts, essentially. Makes it more comfortable in the hand to hold. It's more reminiscent of maybe a banshee or something like that. Kind of like a cross between an irony and a banshee. But again, very inspired by the irony. What is the irony's weaknesses? The first weakness of the irony is the axle. So, a lot of people don't know this, and those of you who own an irony do. The irony's axle is absolutely freaking tiny. I can't even unscrew this, because why? It's threaded. What does threading mean? It basically means that the axle is so small that the inner rings that it screws into don't have enough to grip on, and sometimes they give out, rendering the whole yo-yo useless if you basically make it that small. So this axle was tiny, meaning that you had to be super careful when you unscrewed the yo-yo. What we decided to do is we decided to make the axle longer, alright? So the axle now that we're using is I think this might be last one was 5mm, so this is a 7mm axle. 2mm extra. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes all the difference. Ironies, all of them with the JP era were great, with the one weakness is that their axles kept threading. So my ironies, Vu's ironies, every single other person's ironies, they're unusable now. Why? Because the axles are too small. And if you use it as your competition yo-yo, you're screwing it out, you're screwing it in, it wears them down until you get with threaded, vibey ironies. This yo-yo was great for the years that I've used it, but now it's retired and it's breaking down, right? So we decided to make the axle longer. Next thing was the weight. This thing was built in 2014, 15, around there. It's a monometal. And back then the machines, I don't know, they were less precise. You couldn't make a yo-yo consistently at 64 grams. Now you can. This thing's it's around 63 grams. It's lighter, okay? How did we manage to do this? We managed to make the body lighter with the inner rings. So we used bimetal technology to make it lighter, right? Didn't want it too powerful, right? That's the problem with the drop near. So we put the metal rings on the inside so it'd be more comfortable to play with in the long run. And well, this is the final thing. From an aesthetic point of view, if you look at the Berserker, the rings are all tarnished. Super annoying. What we decided to do is basically get titanium rings and get that anodized a really nice blue so that if it's anodized, it will tarnish less. The problem is, and as much as I hate to admit it, this yo-yo, as sexy as it looks, isn't ready yet. Let me tell you why. This yo-yo needs another prototype. In fact, we've already tried to get 2 more, an outer ring one, just to see how it would play, even if it's too powerful or not. And we've decided to change the material. Here. Okay, first weakness of this yo-yo. If you look at this here, right, you'll notice that it was based on the design of the Berserker. Meaning that this metal ring here isn't actually on the edge of the yo-yo. There's about 2 millimeters sticking out, meaning that this rim is very much inside the body of the yo-yo. Meaning that this weight isn't on the rim, it's just before it. The same idea happened with the Berserker. Now, I didn't really foresee this as a problem, but the problem with this is that it plays center heavy. And if it plays center heavy, it loses that power, and it also loses that spin time, which is why this thing lacks power and spin time. By normal means, it doesn't really lack it, but it's not enough for me, okay? We need more. So the only solution that basically me and Nick came up with is we want it completely on the edge. Something like this. You guys remember this yo-yo? This is the Duncan Grasshopper X. Look at how the metal ring is on the complete edge of the yo-yo. That's what we want. Okay? The next prototype is gonna have it right on the edge of the ring. None of this black stuff. The rim weight will be right there. Here's the second thing. This blue ring, even if you can tell it that, it's made really, really badly because the metal on the inner ring of this prototype is titanium. The reason we wanted titanium was for 2 reasons. One, we wanted to prevent this tarnishing thing happening because this is just 67075 aluminium. And 2, we wanted to be able to say, hey, it's got this really, really bling metal on it. Go, buy it. It's got metal. What I was gonna do was I was gonna say, hey, look, the Anglam has titanium and what? Aluminium inside, but you know, hey, it's $250, this is cheaper. That's what I wanted to do, okay? Realistically though, I came to my senses and I was like, titanium, as cool as it sounds, doesn't add any value, right? And also, the problem with titanium is that it's difficult to anodize. So, this is what the rings look like normally. So if I got this yo-yo brand new, it's fresh from the factory, that's what the blue would look like, okay? Fast forward 2 days, not even, just a couple hours, it fades to that. It's inconsistent and it fades. I'm not sure if you guys can tell the difference here, but the color fades, all right? This already looks subtle. This now looks dull, right? And if we can't anodize it properly, we may as well not anodize it at all. We want the blue rims because that's something I kind of want for a personal note. So yeah, we can't do that. So this is the black, this is the silver version. The next thing is that this thing is slightly too narrow for me. Okay, now this is a personal preference thing, but alright. If we compare it to the Irony, alright, this thing, it's about a millimeter less wide. Okay, but that's not the problem. The problem is the area in here. This catch zone. This catch zone isn't wide enough. And although the Irony and the Berserker for that matter are a very, very similar widths, maybe about, it's only shy of a millimeter less in width, the catch zone of this yo-yo is significantly smaller than both of these, right? Meaning this thing is really hard to catch. What do I mean by the catch zone? See that ring and that ring, okay? That's your actual error point, okay? If you land anywhere within here, it'll slide in. Anything past here, you miss the yo-yo, okay? This thing, it needs to be wider. So we push the rims back a little bit in the next revision to basically try to get it as wide as possible, right? Making it easy to catch. And we've increased the absolute width by about 1.5 millimeters all up. So this thing's 42, we're gonna change it to 43.5. That's pretty wide in my case, but I think I want something that wide. It just makes it a lot easier to catch. So yeah, that's the update. This is the yo-yo, this is what we're working on. It's not ready yet, we need a few more revisions. Alright, but the next model we know will have stainless steel inner rings. We'll try to anodize it properly so that this blue isn't like a subtle, dull, inconsistent blue, but a full blue. And hopefully the use of stainless steel will also be just as effective as titanium and cheaper. That's the plan. That's what I'm doing. That's the thing. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this